I never planned on having a breakdown in a parking lot. But that day, my body made a decision for me. And it ended up being the first ever breakthrough I've ever had up until that moment. Welcome back to the Creative Artist Podcast. My name is Sharan, and if you've been here before, you know that we talk about creativity. And not just the kind you frame and post on social media or even on a wall, but the kind that pulls you out of the dark when nothing else seems to be working. Today I want to tell you about the day I hit rock bottom. It's the day I realized I couldn't keep living the way I was living. The day my body refused to let me walk into work. And somehow that was the thing that actually cracked my life open. You see, from the outside, I had what most people called a good life. But inside, I felt completely empty. This is the story of how one really hard, really unplanned day became the start of me finding myself again. If I had to sum up this experience in one sentence, it's about following your instincts and your curiosity instead of staying stuck in what's expected of you. And for me, getting to that point wasn't sudden. It took years of feeling trapped, forcing myself to keep going and telling myself, this is what you're supposed to do. This is what adults are supposed to do. Until one day, enough was enough. At the time, I was a chef. I was an executive chef. And by that time, I had made into a full-time position after being a traveling manager for a year and a half, traveling around the Midwest, filling in two positions in hospitals, food service management positions. So I was kind of getting tired of traveling a lot and staying in hotels at that time anyways. So, yeah, my career was stable and in the eyes of my family and my friends back home and even people around me, I was pretty sad. My parents were proud. My friends thought I was doing great. I was 27 years old and people were already like talking about marriage to me. You know, the Sri Lankan way, if you didn't know. It's like when you're around that age, even the husbands, the guy friends who are husbands and, their wives, they're constantly trying to set you up, right? As if like that's the next thing. I remember I had gone to Sri Lanka for the second time, I think after 12 years at that time. And like female friends who grew up with me, who would not even look at me, in fact, thought I was so totally not cool. I found myself like being around them as I was visiting them. These women were super interested in me all of a sudden. It was so weird. But the weird thing is actually got into my head as well. You see, from the outside, people saw the job, and like I would post on social media, I would plan caterings for 3,000 people in the hospital and do big catering events and, had the impressive title and, my social media was filled with all the cool food I've done, the catering events and all that kinds of stuff. Trust me, they were fun. That process was definitely enjoyable. And it didn't hurt that I was also a manager with a ton of employees and a ton of responsibility. In the way I saw it was I might not have taken the traditional route of being a doctor, lawyer, whatever, computer person. I kind of went up in the career ladder of my field. And I don't know, I think I looked good in front of the people I was presented. The craziest thing is while all of this is happening, inside I felt stuck. I hated my job. At that point, I had lived in almost 6 states and now 7. I had moved to a new city at the time, so I had no real friends over there. I couldn't hang out with my employees, so really just a few bunch of people I could hang out with. So I poured everything into climbing my career ladder. I had goals. I was nominated as a Rookie of the Year for the company. The goals I had set in achieving in 5 years, I had achieved in 3. Like I was set, like I was working my butt off. And the cool thing, the reason I got into cooking was that I was actually really good at it. And I don't say it in a pompous way. I was always like surprised by it and I really enjoy it. It was the the bureaucracy that got to me. The reality is, looking back, the warning signs were everywhere. I took personal days whenever I could, and not in the glamorous way, not to travel and not to explore anything, but just to hide in darkness. I'd stay in bed, cover the windows, curtains all the way drawn, binging TV until I completely numb myself. I really didn't want to see daylight. I just wanted somehow the day to go fast so I can just... Night was the one place I was somewhat comfortable. I think deep down I knew I needed a change, but the reality is I didn't think I had options. It's a very scary place to be when you feel like you have no options. And when you don't believe there's an option, you stop even looking for one. That morning, that day started like so many others. Alarm going off, hitting the snooze button multiple times, giving myself just enough time to jump into the shower, run to the car and get to work so that I don't have to spend any time in the apartment and feel the misery I was about to feel as I would head to work. That day I drove to work like usual. I don't know, something was off though. That stress, the dread was heavier than normal. I remember pulling into the parking lot and I couldn't get out of the car. In fact, I was holding on to the wheel and I couldn't let it go. My stomach was in knots, my chest started tightening, and for the first time in my life, I started hyperventilating. And I didn't even know what that felt like and was before. And instead of, I don't want to do this, it was, I can't do this, I can't do it, I can't do this, I can't do this, please, I can't do this. I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. And I'm just like sitting there, just like, how am I gonna do this? I really genuinely can't do this. Today, like I thought, like the previous times I would be able to like let me push myself through and do it. But this time I couldn't. And while I'm having this panic attack, I see people who work at the same place I'm working at walking by me, and I didn't even care at that point. Like usually, you try to hide yourself or whatever, but like at that point, like I couldn't even make eye contact because I was hyperventilating, I guess. Normally I would have pushed through or maybe even called sick and gone home and crawled into bed just like the other times and just try to forget about it. Unfortunately, this time was different. I couldn't move. I sat there, already late, getting late, and I didn't even care. I texted my boss, sorry, I can't come. Lied, and for some reason, this time I just didn't think I wanted to run home and hide myself under my sheets. I drove to the nearby lake. I don't know why. Something just told me do it. And I had a change of clothes, took off my chef jackets and everything, and I just walked to this lake and I just sat down. The water was calm and I just sat there for hours. I don't think I was thinking. At no point did I wonder what the heck am I doing. I wasn't trying to figure out life, nothing. I just, instead of running and hiding, I ran and sat in a public lake. And thankfully, there were no other people in the lake in the morning. So I had all this privacy to myself, so I felt very free. For the first time in my life, I was letting myself be. It felt like I just let everything was spilling out of me, out of control. Like this sponge filled with water, and in the analogy doesn't make sense, except when you put it in the water, the sponge just take all the water oozes out or something like that. That's what it felt like. And the entire time I knew nothing in my life was changing at this point. But for some reason, it felt lighter. Not fixed, but lighter, which I didn't know what it felt like before. Problem wasn't fixed. I wasn't like I finally actually stopped fighting with myself for a moment. Finally, when people started coming, kids started coming, it was kind of weird. I kind of got up and went home. And usually the first thing you do is put the TV on, and if you ever lived by yourself, you put noises on, things like that to make you feel like you're not alone. However, this time, I just sat in silence. And all of a sudden, Next thing I do is grab a bunch of printer paper, grab it from the printer, because I hate writing on paper that have rules. Like ruled paper, I like writing on black paper. And I just, for some reason, started everything that was in my head. The questions I didn't have answers for, the feelings I was feeling, the worries, the confusion, the pain, the anger, the rage, the depression, all of it. I wrote until words stopped coming out. And even though nothing in my situation had changed, I felt a little bit more like me. I don't know how to explain that. So a couple of days goes by, and out of nowhere, this one day I come home, and I feel like that's when my inner child actually reached out to me. But for some reason, out of nowhere, I just got the idea of like, wouldn't it be cool if I go grab some Play-Doh or clay that kids play with and just go make something with it? Now, granted, I hadn't touched Play-Doh since I was a kid in Sri Lanka. I have seen Play-Doh that American kids have, and those colors are super cool. And I always thought they were cool, but never really like actually bought it for myself and played. And when I came home, first of all, it was super weird going to a craft store, this guy just like buying Play-Doh, especially in something that's in the kids aisle. But something of me was super excited. I come back home and I just started making stuff out of it. And the beautiful thing was like, this was my clay, and if you grew up where I grew up at the time, at least we were poor, so you try to use up clay like sparingly so you don't mess up all the beautiful individual colors, because Play-Doh, once you mix it, becomes an ugly color. But this time it was different. It was mine, and I was completely free, and I didn't worry. So I just completely went to town on this clay, Play-Doh. And honestly, I could not tell you, for the first time in my life, after a long time, I don't know, I felt excitement. And then I was like, wait a second, I want to try to keep these Play-Doh figures permanent. And so I started doing some research, and come to find out there's something called polymer clay, where just like Play-Doh, you can make stuff out of it, and then you can put it in the oven at a certain temperature, and it becomes a hardened thing, an actual solid creation you made. And that got me even more excited. So I got that and started making more little images, little creatures, little things, whatever it might be. I just put in the oven and just like started displaying them around. And one of the things also was that I hadn't played piano for about, I think, 5-6 years since I started focusing on my career. And I played the piano since I was 5. My grandma was a teacher. So it wasn't a normal thing for me to not play piano for this long. So I borrowed a keyboard from a friend who wasn't using one, and I started playing music again, and I started getting excited again, and randomly I wanted to like start doing some interior decor stuff. So I got my metal trash can that was in my bathroom. I got some painter's tape, or just like regular painter's tape, and you put patterns on it and you spray paint red and black. And I didn't have a place to go and do it because I was in an apartment complex. So I spray painted this trash can in the bathroom, and it was a mess. And let's just say I didn't get my renter's deposit back. I just didn't care, man. It was fun. Looking back, I called it a breakthrough. Because normally my version of hitting the rock bottom was just shutting out and disappearing. But this time I followed my curiosity, and I truly believe that was the first step back to my real self, back to myself. I wasn't broken. I was buried, and creativity helped me dig out myself. So if you're listening or watching right now and you feel like you're just performing your life, please hear me. You're not stuck. That feeling is completely lying to you. It's so hard to believe right now, but actually there is a way out. Trust me. So let's start this, right? This week, I want you to try one small, no pressure creative activity. Write something down, bake something, paint something ugly, make something, solve a problem, come up with a creative solution. The point is not to be good at it. It's to remind yourself you're still human and you're still alive, and you still have a voice under all of that noise of life. If you ever try this out, please let me know in the comments, DM me, email me, whatever. Our email address is thecreativeartistpodcast@gmail, and we are at Instagram and all over the social media. Seriously, thank you so much for listening and watching the Creative Artist Podcast. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who might need it today. And remember, rock bottom is just the ground you need to push off from. Till then, keep creating, keep dreaming, and keep being on your own creative odyssey. Until next time, which is in 48 hours, see you later.